Welcome, witches, to our podcast,
Witch Whispers.
I'm Anya with Sarah and Witchery.
And I'm Debbie with If the Room Fits.
Today's topic was brought to us by a community member that happened at an event that we were having. And it was a gentleman who said, wow, I really wish men could be a part of this because I would really like this. And we all kind of stopped and looked at the gentleman and went, well, what makes you think you can't? And his response was, oh, I thought men weren't allowed. So my response to that was, no, you're very welcome. In fact, we lack males in our community. So we came up with some questions to ask you guys. And so before we go into those, can each of you please say your name and tell us what you do in the pagan community currently?
First name.
First name. You don't have to give your last name. If you want to, that's fine. Some people are a little proprietary over that. So, all right. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, BJ, go ahead.
My name is BJ. I've been a part of the Pacific Northwest Pagan community for approximately the last 30 years. I served on the board of Other Worlds of Wonder for somewhere between 12 and 15 years. I am now a retired elder that likes to support our community through acts of good work and support of our newer members as they learn and continue on their journeys.
Awesome. Who wants to be next? All right, Jim.
Hi, Jim. I have been doing this with my wife, Debbie, for the last 30-some years, a part of If the Room Fits. So we try to keep our people happy and enjoy being a pagan and being part of the community.
Nice. All right, and our last one.
I'm Chris. I've been a practicing witch for 30 plus years now, since my mid-20s, I guess. I'm currently vice president of Other Worlds of Wonder and vendor coordinator of that group. And I was just on the radio the other day for Let's Talk Portland to discuss Columbia Willamette Pagan Pride Day, which is coming up on September 7th.
Nice.
Yay.
Gotta get my plug in.
Yeah, right. Well, and I want to start by saying thank you, all you gentlemen, for being here and being willing to talk to us about this. So to get started off, let me ask the first question. And we're going to start with a little bit lighter stuff and then go into the more heavy stuff.
And we might interrupt. From
Yeah,
time to time.
we women might interrupt with
Because we do that.
every once in a while. You know, it's us.
Fair warning.
So the first question we have is, how did you discover this path and decide it was right for you? Who wants to go first?
I will, if you don't mind.
Sure, Chris, go ahead.
Okay, so when I came out of the Navy and met the woman that was going to be my wife, she was involved in some things that young, slightly conservative Republican me wasn't too sure about. Had some ideas that I learned in church about such things. And she showed me I was wrong. She got me a book by a guy named Scott Cunningham, and we went from there.
Nice. Yeah, Scott Cunningham is one of my favorite authors. Love him. Who wants to go next? All right.
So I have had gifts my entire life. How I discovered this path specifically is being raised Roman Catholic, and then my family decided to switch to Lutheranism. I asked a lot of questions, and I had a lot of things that were unexplainable. And everyone around me, the people that you seek out for answers, priests and peers and family and friends, people kept telling me I was crazy and they didn't understand. And I had a pastor by the name of Dave, who was an absolutely wonderful man, told me that I would most likely never fit into the Christian mold. And he gave me some very good contacts outside of Christianity. I had tea with a Buddhist master. I had lunch with a Taoist. I went to temple ceremonies with a couple of Hindu friends of mine. So I've kind of been around the block a little bit, and that journey for me, like the realistic journey, started when I was about 14, and it's just gotten better ever since. I'm now in my mid 40s and still going strong. So,
Awesome. Jim?
Well, my past started after I got married. I noticed that my wife had a different side of religion that I wasn't sure about. And she brought me into it. And the more and more we got into it, the more and more I understand that it was something I wanted to do. It made more sense than the other one. So we've been doing that now for 48 years. So I think I got a little bit behind me on it. I'm still learning every day.
Did you drag him kicking and screaming?
No, actually, I was performing a ritual at like 3 o'clock in the morning because I was afraid of my new husband,
Freaking out.
freaking
Please
out.
don't freak out.
And he got up in the middle of the night and, his ninja walk.
Right.
He was standing there and I looked up and I forgot what I was doing actually. And he asked, so I told him, and I'm like, "You're not upset, are you?" And he's like, "Only if I can't come and join you." I was like, "Oh my God, I picked the right one." And he's been,
Well, and that's one thing too that I want to interject is that we women have been looking for men who are on the same path as us, because here's the thing. I don't want to teach my partner this. He should already know it. And that's just me. And so when I started dating BJ, I thought I got really lucky because I didn't have to explain stuff again. He knew what I was talking about. There was no education needed. He already had it. So for me, that was like a plus.
48 years ago, we didn't have
Oh, no.
books.
Yeah.
We didn't, Lori Cabot was in Massachusetts. You don't call
Right.
and
Back
chat
then it
with
was long
her.
distance.
Raven Grimacy also, you don't call them. And so it took a lot for us to get where we are today.
Right, exactly. So this next question here, I'm going to ask that Chris and Jim answer it first, and then BJ last. And that's because BJ has some knowledge about these actual names. And this was another question that came from a male in the community. And it was, what do you call yourself? A witch, a wizard, a warlock, a sorcerer? And why do you choose that moniker? So who wants to? Okay, Chris, go ahead.
So all of those are valid titles, depending on the individual person. I choose to call myself a witch.
Okay.
I view witch as a non-gendered term. And
Okay.
and honestly, I do it to honor all the people that were falsely killed for being called a witch.
Okay. That's awesome. Jim?
I agree with Chris on that. All those names are good, but I call myself Jim.
Jim. You identify as Jim?
He identifies
That's
as Jim.
awesome.
And he's told other witches that. They're like, "Well, what do you call yourself?" He said, "Usually Jim."
Yeah, I just call myself.
I just call myself Jim.
But yeah, I would call myself a witch
Okay.
Okay.
And why?
because, like Chris said, there's a lot of respect out there for the people that have been tortured, killed for something they believe in. No different than any other religion.
Right.
They all believe in something. So why pick on the ones? So
I get that.
that's fine.
I get that. Okay. And my husband's nickname for me is Beeper. So if you hear me say Beeper, I am talking to BJ. So BJ, you have a little bit more of the etymology behind these words and why you choose what word you use. So could you give us a little bit of that and answer the question too?
Each one of these is a title or a distinction, and they come with a myriad of histories and resources. Witches specifically were very much tied to things of nature, the wild, the trees, the water, the plants. And And it also happened to have a very huge leaning in the female perspectives from goddess. Wizards kind of walked their own path. They were men that were very much tied to things like nature, but they didn't really tie themselves to male or female deity. Warlocks, specifically, since we have that listed here in our question status, warlocks are people that practice magic with the intent to harm, whether that be for good or for evil. But warlocks generally also are willing to commit or commit the act of murder or killing. So taking that title means that you step into that persona of you are a war mage. You are willing to do whatever it takes to defend whatever position you take. And that can be good or bad. Sorcerers are generally at least entitled as people that are exceptionally brilliant, and they stumble upon magic due to their knowledge or due to the secrets being revealed once they wipe away all the other garbage. So each one has its own title. I personally carry the title of wizard. However, I am also willing to cross over that boundary in times of need for my community and become a warlock.
Okay. Well, and yeah, Chris, go ahead.
So in regard to what BJ was saying, I had a deep meditation with my goddess in regard to baneful workings. And I serve the Morrigan, and she's very fine with that. And basically, I came to the conclusion that anything a practitioner does, much like in the pre-Christian times, in defense of themselves, their people, and their lands, is perfectly justified, not technically baneful at all. That's my take on that.
Well, that's a good thing. I mean, there is something to be said a lot about the fact that some of the vocabulary has changed over time. Warlock is no longer seen in many circles as a war mage, as someone who is willing to do that. So they think warlock means male witch. And that's something that a lot of people think. So by bringing this stuff up, maybe these people who are listening to the podcast can have a little bit more understanding as to why those words were there and how usually, like Jim said, or like you said, Chris, it's more of a non-gendered term, non-binary, so to speak.
Right.
All right, wonderful. Thank you guys. It's awesome. Okay. Third question. And this one I think is very interesting. How do you reconcile your spirituality with traditional masculinity? And I think when they say traditional, they were trying to be politically correct and not say toxic.
Excuse me?
Yeah, because society as a whole has toxic masculinity, which is just like absolutely out of freaking control, okay?
Really?
So I think right. So I think no. So I think what this question is asking, honestly, is how do you reconcile a spirituality when the traditional masculinity that we've been exposed to in society is very toxic?
I'll start that one off because that one was a huge drive for me and why I stepped into choosing my own path. For me, I grew up in a family that was very Christian and had a lot of traditional and toxic masculinity. And it got to the point where it's not that I felt necessarily excluded, but I always felt like I was not included in those very masculine moments. Like guys standing around talking about the deer that they shot and how many points are on the antlers. And I'm standing there going, does it matter? Did you take the animal for food? Why are you worried about how many points are on its horns? And that's one example, but there are many, many of them. And so for me, reconciling that spirituality is that I try and be better. I try and not fall into those traps. I try and provide for my friends and my family, specifically my grandchildren, open-ended answers. Find out for yourself what makes you comfortable. Because in those spaces, I certainly was not comfortable. I am now, but it's because I know that when those things occur, I can either stand there and be a part of it and be accepting, or I can walk away. I don't have to be involved, and I don't have to be at the effect in those things.
That's a great answer. Jim?
Okay.
I
My
called on
thing,
him because he made eye contact, so.
my spirituality, when it comes to traditional, how can I put this? Masculinity when I was growing up was a big deal.
Mhm.
I mean, here I am, have 4 brothers or 3 brothers and a sister. My dad died when I was young. So I had to grow up. I had to be something big. I had to be the important one. And
The
what
head of the house.
the head of everything,
Well,
even though I have 2 older brothers that don't know diddly squat, but that doesn't matter. But the point was, I had to take that role on. Well, I got married when I was young. So-
Not to me, but just him.
and
Wasn't
then
me.
I had
Somebody
that
else.
to deal with. So the masculinity part of it, to me, I had to stand out to be that person. But spirituality, it was missing. So I didn't get my spirituality until I married my second wife, Debbie.
That is me.
Last one.
And
The only one that counts.
and that spirituality came more as you don't have to prove anything. You can just open up and talk. If it's what you want to hear, great. If it's not what you want to hear, that's great too, because you need to learn on both sides.
Right.
So my spirituality came from my wife setting me down and saying, it's okay. You can be whatever you want to be.
You could be an astronaut, Jim.
That's right.
God help
And I'd
us.
be up there right next to you.
Go, BJ, go!
Monkey's working on the space station.
But, so yeah, there are some masculinity parts that are still in me that say, oh yeah, I got to do this, but Deb usually beats those out of me, so I lose out on this.
She's not an abuser. He's saying that as a joke. There's no spousal abuse here, just so you know.
So that's my take.
Well, thank you. And Chris.
Spirituality. So, I was raised a Methodist. I literally learned to read out of the King James Bible sitting in my great grandmother's lap.
Nice.
Yes. But
It's time with grandma. That's all I'm saying.
that's a very patriarchal religion. And once I got involved in paganism, I had a hard time reconciling that with paganism. But, I work with gods that are fairly masculine. I work with Odin. I work with Pan. They're fairly masculine. And people forget that Wicca has a god and a goddess sometimes. I mean, there's an entire tradition, the Dianic tradition, that doesn't even acknowledge the god. And nothing against them. They're great people. I know a couple.
Oh, no, and I agree.
But I guess what I'm saying is, masculinity doesn't have to be toxic. Odin had wisdom. Odin had kindness to strangers. Pan, passion, wildness. That can be toxic if you let it go too far, but that's part of the balance of following Pan.
Well, and I think one of the points of this question is looking at society today and how men are taught to be, and I use air quotes here for those who aren't seeing the video, masculine men. Yeah, right. How do you balance the toxicity and the traditional masculine with the spirituality of balance between the feminine and the masculine divine.
That's,
Does that make more sense?
yeah. But I'm one of those guys that's comfortable standing around talking about guns and standing around a campfire going, yep, weather's going to be hot tomorrow.
Looks cloudy.
And can I just interject?
Yes,
here?
please.
In listening to all the guys, you are male.
Mhm.
You can't, I don't care if you're gay,
Mhm.
trans, you're male.
Right.
You can't help but be masculine.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
And it's just a matter of don't let it be toxic.
right,
If you're
right.
aware of yourself and you're a spiritual being, you should be aware enough not to let that happen in your life.
And I know for Jim, and I think he was struggling to find the words, but for me, with other people, it's show, don't tell.
Yeah. Actions speak louder than words.
Actions always speak louder than words.
Absolutely.
You
No,
can
I
talk
agree.
out of this side of your mouth, and then you're acting over here, and neither the two shall meet.
Yeah, hypocrisy is not a
Yeah.
favorite thing of mine either.
So I'm a big watcher and know when a man is being masculine to the degree of his ego talking, not
Oh, and that's
not the id.
and that's another thing too that you can think about when you're talking about traditional masculinity. It is the celebration of the male ego, and not necessarily the masculine divine. If that
Right.
makes sense to you guys,
Right.
and I don't know if you agree or not.
Well, I think that what we tend to do in those moments is that we turn to our spirituality so that we don't suffer the bravado. And if we do bring that forth, or those, I guess, strongly masculine traits, generally it's when we're in the middle of ritual theater versus standing out on the street corner like the little dog barking at people when they go by, because that's more of the traditional and that toxic masculinity.
I can see that.
Being able to kind of balance it out and know that you don't have to be that way all the time. There's a time and a place for it.
I think that
Yeah.
that sounds awesome. Okay, so if we're ready to move on and there's no other comments, the next question is, and this is something that even the women ask when they start witchcraft often is working with a deity required? So who would
Short
like to-
answer is no.
There you go, Chris. And can you go into that? Tell us why. Or why your perspective is that way.
Right. All things in life have energy, even the rocks in the ground, right? Can we agree on that? By my definition, witchcraft is the manipulation of energy. You don't need a deity to manipulate energy. It's something personal.
Which I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because for me, I, dealt with like previous marriage was Roman Catholic, like what I was telling you, raised Southern Baptist. And it's all about those two things are not spiritual. They're religious.
Yes.
Yes.
And there is a huge, huge difference for me between religion and spirituality.
One of the things I tell my students in my class is the difference between religion and spirituality is religion is the belief in another person's spiritual journey. And spirituality is the belief in your own spiritual journey. So religion has to do with Jesus and Moses and Muhammad, and and stuff like that. Whereas spirituality, it's your belief in your own spiritual path and journey and what you're doing.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
You're supposed to be answering questions.
It's okay.
Let me get on my masculine side.
Okay. Jump right on that masculine.
Okay.
podium.
I'm part American Indian.
Okay.
Half of them.
Okay.
Deities, I don't have that, but I do have guardians.
Okay.
such as my crow. Okay. Comes to me. You can ask people. Wherever I go, there's always one. Never matters. Doesn't anywhere in the state, and
That's where they all come from. Jimmy Christ. I thought they were just like, because we were witches. No, it's
No.
Jim calling them. Okay.
yeah. So to me, my deity is my religious side on the Indian side because it is all nature.
Mhm.
It all has to do with nature and everything around it.
We
So,
are all related.
yeah. So to me, that's my deity.
Mhm.
Okay. Where other people have different ones,
Is
which
the
are
earth.
fine.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
I think whatever brings you together with the spirituality and the energy
Mhm.
is what you need.
Yep.
It'll find you. You don't
Very
have to
well
look for
said.
it.
You're right. Well, and it'll always find you. Even
Yes.
if it's whacking you upside the head with a clue by four, it's going to
I
find
know.
you.
I've been there.
He pointed at Debbie like she's
Yeah.
the one wielding the clue by four. I'm just saying.
And I told you that
Ask me how the
before,
Morgan got my attention.
I'm sorry.
And he said, ask me how Morgan gets his attention.
Oh, well, if it's anything like Lilith, you get smacked on top of the head because that's what she does to me.
I had a lovely waking vision one day. Threw me for a loop.
You want to share?
Hmm?
Can you share?
I mean, sure. So I'd been at a protest in Tacoma with the Puyallup people against a liquefied natural gas facility. And I was staring at a riot cop when the idea for witches' places in the resistance came to me.
Nice.
It literally struck me between the eyes while I was staring at this riot cop. But I came home and I was putting a lot of thought energy into how to bring this message forward to people. And I was walking through my kitchen and I took a step with my right foot. And when it came down, I remember watching dust poof out from around it. And I was across the street from a tank farm, a petrochemical tank farm with a bunch of other witches. And we were there calling on the old gods and the land spirits to basically wreck this place. Because done. And as this is happening, the sky starts to darken like it does in this part of the world when a storm's coming in. And I started hearing crows. Not a few, thousands and thousands of crows. And I looked over my shoulder, and that's what the storm front was, nothing but crows. And then her voice started up, and it was a lot like the wind, kind of shrieky. And she said, "Tell my children's children, I see the destruction they've caused. Tell them if they do not change their ways, they will see the price paid in their own lives." And then I was putting my left foot down in my kitchen again.
Mhm.
So that's how she got my attention.
Nice. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful story.
I,
Oh, sorry.
kind of foreboding, but she's not known for kind foretellings, usually.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
She's not known for kind of foretelling.
Oh, yes.
She's
Yeah.
called the washer at the Ford for a reason.
Mhm.
Yeah, Debbie works with Lilith and I work with Sekhmet, and these are not gentle goddesses. They will get in your face if you don't listen to them. So,
Thanks for letting me share.
Of course, of course. BJ?
Is working with deity required? Absolutely not. I will say that there have been moments when standing on my own, I have felt like the most powerful being in all of existence. Like nothing could stand in my way. There's nothing I couldn't do. There have also been moments when standing on my own when I felt my absolute weakest. Now, to turn that on its ear, I've held deity and I have worked with them before. And I have felt the exact same way I felt on my own. However, each situation has allowed me to learn and to grow from it. Do I need this in the moment? Do I need to call on that extra power? No, but it's nice to know that I have backup. It's nice to know that it's there if I need it, but not something that's a requirement, if that makes sense.
I like it. Awesome. All right, now we're going to start getting into a little bit more of, I think I would call it community questions. So, for example, are there special roles for male witches in the community or in witchcraft?
Yeah, it's called setting everything up.
Okay, that was called.
Carrying
No,
everybody.
you make more than that, though.
I'm sure.
I fulfilled the role of high priest when we had a coven in Tennessee. So I was the male leader of the coven in conjunction with my wife, who was the high priestess, who was the female leader of the coven. Neither of us was above the other.
Nice. Nice. Jim,
So yes, there are male specific roles in witchcraft. Oftentimes, it's something I learned in Tennessee. They have a position called the warder, who sits between the worlds, half in and half out of the circle, and that's usually a male's job.
For protection?
Yes, to deal
Yeah.
with maybe some people show up while you're having ritual, or
Right.
yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yep.
That's been your role too.
That's my role right there.
I feel like I've been in the community for so long, being the community outside of the big three religions. Is there a specifically special role for a male versus a female or transgender person of any kind? Absolutely not. I don't think that there's anything that is very specific to a man. I think that anyone, any person or any human can fulfill any role. If anything, there might be a little bit more exclusion because it is very female centric. However, I think that everyone is celebrated and can bring their gifts to the table, no matter what the role may be.
Cool.
To me, the only part of the difference between the male and the female is, to me, is a person that is a protector.
Okay, protector.
More than most women are frail.
Okay.
And I'm just putting that,
Comparatively speaking.
Adding air quotes. You add air quotes around the word frail
okay.
just before the women like pick up pitchforks and torches.
Please don't
And
say that.
I am not here at this place anymore. I won't be here. No.
Right, exactly.
No.
We'll never come back here again.
But like Chris was saying, you have a circle. You have one person between in and out of the circle. We have done rituals like this where we had an open door to pass through. But I was the person there to see, was it that you were coming in to be in the spiritual, or were you coming in to destroy it?
Mm-hmm.
So
We used to have a lot of outdoor. So
protection wise, I think male stands out more.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, I think it could be anyone and any sort, And don't get me wrong, there's some women out there that I'm deadly afraid of.
His wife being one of them.
Yes, that is definitely true. Cookie being the second one.
Cookie being the second one.
But I mean, to me, that would be the only thing that stands out different between the man and the woman in that respect. Because you could be whatever you want. The high priestess on either side.
Right.
Okay. You could be the low person on either side. It doesn't matter. Okay. It's what you choose to do with your religion and how you choose to do it. If you want to be outspoken, you're outspoken. If you want to be more pulled in and just be, okay, I want to learn, it's welcome. So that to me is what I see in it.
Nice. All right. Those are great answers, gentlemen. Thank you. So this next one, Debbie and I have actually been talking about this next question because it is something that comes up often. And there are some times that we as women have to calm down other women going, no, really, he's okay, knock it off. And that is, how do you navigate a primarily women-only space in the vegan community without coming across as a predator? Now, I remember, and I will start this off. This is just an example. I remember one time there was a gentleman who wanted to join the community, and he came into a ritual. And all of the women kept talking about how creepy he was. Oh, he's just creepy. He keeps staring. He keeps staring. He keeps staring. I happen to know the man. He was observing. He was not staring. So I had to walk up to those other people in the group and go, look, you need to calm down. He's just observing because he wants to be a part of the group and he has questions. So mellow out. But as men, how do you guys navigate that?
I got an easy one for that. So about 20 years ago, we were putting on an event, Sunfest. And I believe that year we were holding it down at Chinook Bend, which is off the Oregon coast, beautiful area. And there was a young woman let me preface this. At a lot of our events and festivals, going topless or sans clothing, a lot of people might call it being skyclad, was optional. And we've always had that open and able for people to be able to do that. Well, this young woman in particular decided to go topless, and it was like laying out honey for ants. All the men in community like flocked to this area where this woman had her top off. And being that I was a community member and a board member, I stepped forward and I called them all out. I'm like, all of you jerks, go do something else. There's wood to be chopped. There's this to be done. Go tighten up your camp. Go fetch water. Get out of here. Move along. And then I sat down with the young woman, looking her in the eyes, and had a complete conversation with her.
That was a good deal.
What's going on?
You're in the eye.
Well, because the thing is she needed to know in the moment that she was safe. She needed to know that what the men were doing at that point was not okay.
Mm-hmm.
That you can say something about it and you can help protect against those predators. So yes, there is that nature that is there amongst all, but then there are also people that step forward and say, you can't be like that here.
Yeah.
So,
We get she's pretty, but that's unacceptable.
right. And it's through showing those acts, as Debbie brought up, showing what you're capable of and what type of person you are, those acts. That's what shows people that you're not a predator or that you're not a danger. And by repeatedly showing that you are the type of person that can be that support structure, those things go away. It might not be today, might not be next week, but they do go away in time.
Okay.
Well, he's not talking.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
He's thinking.
Okay. Navigating through a group of women, and you're a man or woman coming into a group that is pre-established. They're pretty much set in everything they do. I know when we first came up here, we were the outsiders.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean the outsider. If we'd have been outside of the building, they would have been happier than we were when we were inside the building with them. But my wife, as she is, stubborn as hell, pushed us through and pushed us through
Disbelief.
until these people learned who we are and what we are. Now, everybody wants her to come in. I don't know about me, but they want her to come in.
No, we want you to.
I get to tag along because I got, the good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So navigating through this is that you have to look at it in two ways. One, they have a structure. Either you become part of the structure or you change it. And I don't mean changing everything, but
Right.
changing the fact that, hey, you're a new person. Come talk to me. Let's get to know each other. Find out what we're talking about. Find out what's going on. Don't say, oh, that's a new person. We don't want anything to do with them. And I think opening up in groups of people is hard to do for a lot of people. So I think it's the job of the people that are at the core to bring those people in and listen to them, because not everybody is set in one way. There's a lot of different things to do out there. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and a lot of different ways to address something different than you do in a regimental place. Okay. And that, to me, is how you navigate through without being the predator. You're not trying to change it. You're just trying to better it and get involved in it. So, yeah, you don't want to be the one coming in and making a wedge between two different, styles or one, and causing the community and all to split apart, because all of us need to be together to make it work. So to me, that's how you get along.
Well, and I want to add to what Jim has said there. I think it's important to know that for a long time, the persecutions that were suffered outside of the big three religions of Christianity, Judaism, and Muslim, the persecutions that people suffered by practicing alternate religions, they got to the point where they were almost scared to bring new people in. When you saw in a year's time, let's say 1,000 new people come in, but you only keep 10 of them, it puts you on guard all the time, which might pave the way for people seeing someone as a predator.
I could see that.
Yeah. So for me, I don't know. I was raised in a matriarchal family. I didn't have any older male relatives growing up. None. So I kind of naturally just fit in, if that makes any sense at all. I'm just me. I act like me and try not to be a creep, and that's how I do it.
Well, and I think too, and I think there's something to be said, and Debbie and I actually did kind of talk about this a little bit. Some of it comes from us as women, and why are they here?
Preconceived ideas.
Because we have preconceived ideas that, well, if the stranger's showing up, they're looking for, they think this is a nightclub hotspot. They're going to find a date. They're going to find a wife. They're going to find, and so a lot of it too is some preconceived ideas of what we women have about men because of the way that we're trained in society by how to view strange men. And when I mean strange men, I don't mean men who are strange. I mean men who don't.
I'm stranger than most, so.
Okay, well, so are most of my male friends, but I figure that is a win, but that's just me.
And realistically, all women are afraid of men they don't know. They're at least wary.
And it's because
that's it,
And that's because men suck, sadly.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what was that, Chris?
That's because men suck, sadly, for the most part. As a male, I'll say that.
And some of that goes to that toxic masculinity that society reveres, supposedly, air quotations.
And a lot of it has to do with our, how do I want to put this? My mother and father were raised different. Their mother and father was raised different. So trying to bring all that down into one is really difficult.
Oh, no, absolutely.
So, nowadays things are more open, not like they were then,
Right.
And so Deb and I, being older, we got part of that. So we understand how that part happens and this part now here. So for us, it's easier to see that in people, what's going on and how is it going on? How is it affecting them? And both of us are people watchers, so we watch the way they move and act.
Right.
So to me, that's how you can, you learn.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Was that it for all the gentlemen? Okay, we have 2 questions left, and which is good because we have 10 minutes left. So the next question is, what practice could one do as a novice other than taking classes to learn more? Especially if this person is not sure if this is the path for him, but is intrigued by the path.
One would be going to different rituals.
Okay.
Go in, see what it's like. Not every ritual you participate in. There's a lot of viewers. Okay.
Mhm.
Pagan pride. There's a lot of things out there that people go out. They have things they talk about. That's how you learn without taking classes, you know, and then finding out for yourself, you know, hey, this interests me. So how do I find out about it? Then if they want to take classes, they said, okay, who's going to do what and how?
Okay.
That would be how I would say that would work.
Okay.
I would say, oh my goodness, I have so much on this one because of how I started. When I was young, we didn't have the internet. I'm sure as everybody in this room knows. And even
What's the
Chris,
internet?
right?
What's the internet?
What's the interwebs? So when I was a kid, I figured out that by getting my library card, it unlocked the world for me because then I could go read about things in books and I didn't have to depend on somebody else telling me the truths that they wanted to share. And that's a conversation for another time. However, being able to read and learn and do research and follow up, that's how I found out about over 100 other religions around the world. And then asking questions of my peers and of people that were around me and talking openly about those religions, it opened other doorways for me. Oh, there's a temple here. There's a mosque there. They're holding an event over here. Did I participate in all of those things? Like 100% where I was handling items or being part of the ritual? No. Did I stand back and observe a lot of them and ask probably 2 billion questions? Yes, I did. And over time, I became more and more comfortable with it. So every opportunity that is available to you, via word of mouth, via text, online, books, libraries, churches, mosques, synagogues, outdoor get-togethers, don't ever stifle yourself. There's so much out there. And if you're not sure, ask somebody.
Yeah.
Well, and if you need that information, come into If the Broom Fits. Right now, Jim and BJ are in here often, currently.
Well, Jim's in here almost
You
every
know,
day.
yeah, exactly. And
Right.
if we don't know the answers, we can refer you to other people like Chris, who is a part of Other World of Wonder, who
Sure
knows more of other things happening. So,
Right. Get a book. I mean, Scott Cunningham's Guide for the Solitary Practitioner gives a great overview of what Wicca is. I'd say I'm not a big fan of doing internet research because right now there's so much AI BS available on the internet that is.
So much.
I got my education on Wikipedia, Chris. Keep clicking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Right.
got something to say. As a person that doesn't read a lot, books to me is a struggle.
okay.
So it's forcing me to do something that I won't remember.
Okay.
And
Okay?
don't enjoy
And I don't enjoy it
because you don't
No,
like
because I don't like reading. But going and visually seeing something
Mhm.
is a totally different thing. You know, we went to a thing here where we went and saw the priests. I mean, what were the shaman priests or
Are you talking about the monks?
the monks? Yeah.
Yes. I was
And-
just thinking of that too. Quit walking around in my head.
And, you know, learning about the Buddha and learning about when this shaman or whatever passes, they take the ashes and take out all the crystals that are in the ashes and they bury it in these different parts of the Buddha, which I didn't know anything about that.
But it's interesting.
But at the same time, you know, I wanted to see. So we went and saw. I ended up getting a blessing from the man there that was doing it, and he acted like he had known me for hundreds of years.
That's awesome.
And even Deb was saying, what, you know, he couldn't take his hand off of my head. So to me, I'm thinking, okay, what's going on and why is this happening? So we looked around and, you know, we got to talk and back and forth. That made sense. Okay. And to me, not everybody can get into books. And,
That's a good point.
and that's a big
true.
deal for a lot of people. They're afraid to come out into the public and say, okay, I want to do this, but they don't want to read about it either.
Some of my most profound learning experiences have just been from sitting in nature and meditating, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a valid way to learn as well. Connecting yourself with nature and the things around you.
Well, the
That's a
energy,
valid way of
the energy
educating
you
yourself.
pull out of the ground.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, we walked down many paths and doing it over and over again at different times and seeing stuff that we have given out as a blessing growing.
Mhm.
And, you know, you don't even think about that when you do it.
Right.
You know, you think when you come back, it's going to be gone, but here it is thriving in the energy that everybody's put into it. And that to me right there tells you, okay, there's something more here than just meets the eye. This is something that, oh, I threw a seed out there, I watered it again. Well, no, this is something totally different. People didn't destroy it. People left it alone and it grew. That to me is how you learn a little bit more about it.
Oh, I think that's
Hands
beautiful.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and just for, and we tell people this all the time, regardless of your gender, male or female, transgender female, transgender male, we don't, by non-binary, it's not that we don't care, it's that we have no judgments on that. If you have questions, come in and talk to us, and if the brain fits. And if we don't have the perspective you need, we can find somebody who can help you out one way or another. Another one is to come in, excuse me, we know practitioners who, like for Jim, make YouTube videos. So there, you know, you can get a name of a person that the community members trust, and then you can listen to it instead of reading about it. If you're more into audiobooks or you're more of a visual learner and you have to see it type of thing. But there are several places, and if you come in and ask your questions, we'll be more than happy to help you.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Definitely.
Okay, so we have about, I'm going to say 5 minutes left. We can go a little bit over an hour. And our last question is, this one came from my 16-year-old grandchild, my oldest one. And when they said this question to me, I looked right at it and went, oh my God, this is an amazing question. Have you ever experienced discrimination in the community because you are a man?
I'm gonna answer that one right off the bat. When I very first came to community, hell yes. Yes,
Oh,
I
yeah.
did. I felt discrimination all the time because of my gender. It wasn't until, as we've covered the topics today, things like showing up and proving who I was, being a supportive structure, being someone that was knowledgeable about what was going on, whether it be the ritual or the environment. Now, and of course, excuse me, but when I joined, what would be this kind of community 30-some plus years ago, there were only really 3 terms. You were heterosexual, you were gay, and maybe bisexual, and that was it.
Right.
And if you didn't fall into one of those categories, then you just kind of were lost. And because of that and the gender bias that was there with those terminologies, it made it kind of tough because who really fit where? That was part of the whole reason of coming to the pagan community. Now, with having a myriad of titles that people have chosen to try and describe themselves, it makes it quite a bit easier, and there isn't so much of a gender bias. Now people are leaning more into, who are you? Are you a good person? Do you show up and do what you say you're going to do? Do you serve your community, or do you serve, maybe your coven? So definitely when I came in, yes, but now I don't feel that at all.
Okay.
Yeah, back in the mid 90s, most of the public events in Portland were women only, and that's WOMYN. Oh, I've lost your audio. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you hear that bit? No,
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so, but I understood that. I had someone explain it to me at an event I went to that wasn't advertised as women only, but it was explained to me at the door. It might have been Jamie. It was a Sister Spirit event. It was back in the 90s though. And so I understood at that point the need for the women only spaces, but the community's progressed a long ways since then, and there's a lot more inclusiveness for public events.
Yeah. I think women had to have their own society at one time, just like men do. We have, the Masons. Women have, the Eastern Star. But the point is that with witches and stuff like this was basically more out for women at that time. So the community basically said women only.
Agreed.
Now, men are starting to, in another way to put it, weave their way into it with the same type of energy and effort as the women are. So they're now opening up to let men in. Okay. They, to me, as we get further in years, it seems like, okay, we're starting to learn. And I think it's a long process because you got to remember back in the 50s and 60s where we were, it was all about men, women, nothing in between. Now, well, it's kind of starting to gain a little bit more and more each year. You see more and more things happening. People are understanding there are different things. And there's a lot to learn from both sides.
Absolutely.
And if you can't learn from both sides, then maybe you need to be on your own. And that's all I gotta say.
Well, and I think that this also crosses into the boundary, as you were saying, Jim, where we have a society that was very heavily patriarchal, meaning it was very male centric. That's coming out of World War II in the 50s and 60s. Women had to rise to power, and they had to take back their voices and their energy, and they had to get strong on their own for a while and develop that matriarchal society. And now I feel like we're starting to blend together more. And instead of it being a ma or a pa, now we are egalitarian. And egalitarian means that we all view each other as equals.
Right.
And we support one another and we help each other to achieve whatever it is that we need to.
And I would wish for a world where everybody thinks that way, BJ.
Yeah, right.
I wish it was.
Yep.
But, even like BJ said, women back even in World War I, World War II, they actually kept society alive by taking on the men's role to support the war effort.
Right.
They didn't have to do that, but they chose to be part of it. And that way they could grow in saying, hey, we're not saying we're better, but at least give us a chance to be equal.
Right. Right.
And that's the way it should be. Women should be exactly equal to men. There's nobody bigger or smaller, dumber or smarter.
Right.
We're all about the same. We all have
some
it.
days I feel pretty stupid.
And Chris, we want to thank you so much for joining us via video chat.
Thank you so much for being here. Is there anything gentlemen would like to close with before we close up?
When's the bar open?
I would like to say that Pagan Pride Day is September 7th at Oaks Park from 10 to 5, and please come out and see us.
And there's a good place as a man, if you want to get like a little bit more into, because if I'm not mistaken, Chris, you guys have workshops and stuff available to attend as well for free.
We do. We have a bunch of free workshops. I don't have the list in front of me. I know Courtney Weber, the author, is going to do one, and several others. We've got the Rose City Dancing Witches. We've got Morris dancers. It's going to be a good time.
Nice. Nice. Jim? No?
I got nothing else.
You got nothing else. Okay. Keeper?
Last thing I want to say is please don't be afraid. If you need help, if you need advice, you need wisdom, or you're just looking for anything that could help you, please come visit If the Broom Fits. Talk to Anya with Sarah and Witchery. They have connections. They can put you in contact with Chris, myself, with Jim, with other men in the community, other women in the community. You always have options. Please come ask for the help. We are more than willing to give it.
And Debbie
Yeah,
too.
I'll probably just hijack you to go to a protest. But anyway.
Yeah, right. As long as you're not at a protest.
Yeah, If the Broom Fits and Sarah and Witchery, they are safe places.
Always.
Always.
Always. We try to consider ourselves a shelter in the storm. So
So
And
come
if you-
see us.
if you have questions, we always have answers. And if we can't find the answers, we know people who will know answers. So
So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this month. You've really made our podcast
It was
interesting.
awesome. I loved
I
hearing
liked
you
it.
guys'
It was
perspective.
very
Thank you
good.
both.
well, blessed be you guys. You have a great
Thank you
wonderful
so
weekend.
much.
Thank you.
We'll see everyone next month.
Yay.